Micro is all about an individual, but macro is about the study of nation as a whole. A country's economy is highly dependent on the exports. The more the number of exports, the percentage increase in export of goods will automatically reflect in terms of the economy. When you are trying to answer with respect to your PU board, you need to give the keywords correctly. Good morning and welcome to the session of revision in Introduction to Macroeconomics. This is the chapter 7 in 2nd PUC Economics, where we are going to start with the introduction towards the macroeconomics. Now, this is the second part of the economics. We have discussed about the micro. Now, we're going to discuss about the macroeconomics. And what is the agenda today? We've got the chapter introduction, the weightage, question types, questions and answers. So this is a very, very important topic that we're going to speak. So we're going to introduce ourselves into the macroeconomics world. Let me just go to the weightage, a very simple weightage here. You just have two questions coming 1 mark each. So 2 marks you're going to gather plus 1 4 markers. So definitely this chapter is worth 6 marks. So just look at that. One small chapter, Introduction to Macroeconomics, can make you score 6 marks. Now that's fantastic. That's good news for us. So definitely pay attention. You will be able to score that 6 marks. Now let's going further. Introduction to Macroeconomics. This is the study of large-scale economic issues like inflation, GDP, unemployment, and all the macroeconomic parts. Now, the difference between the micro and macro. Micro is all about an individual, but macro is about the study of nation as a whole. So that means to say that we are going to study about all the problems that govern the economic situation of the country. So it might include employment, it might include inflation, it might include the factors of production, every single factor that's going to come into position, exports, imports, and that's what macroeconomics constitutes about. Now the chapter summary, we're going to talk about the wage labor because that's one very, very important factor in macroeconomic, starting being that capitalistic country or a capitalistic economy. We are going to look into it because macroeconomics, typically India is not a capitalistic economy or a country. We are more about a mixed economy. So we are not like US, but rather, we have types of economy in this world like capitalistic, mixed economy. We have the centrally planned. So we are a mixed economy altogether. Now, in the firms, the capitalistic kind of economy, they are only concerned about the output. So when I'm going to talk about the economy of America, they are typically a capitalistic economy where they are more concerned about the production, the output altogether. They are not concerned about the growth factors. In terms of the retailers will have a greater choice. It's nowhere government intervention at all. We're going to talk about households, who are also known as consumers here. Government, which plays a very, very important role in terms of adjusting the prices and taking it forward, followed by the external sector, which is also called as the export sector. Now, that's the foreign sector. Why it's important is that a country's economy is highly dependent on the exports. The more the number of exports, the percentage increase in export of goods will automatically reflect in terms of the economy. So it's mandatory for both of us, for all of us to understand this factor that how does India as a country concentrate on its exports? Because exports will directly lead to the increase in GDP. Followed by the export imports, as we were talking about. Exports means where you are producing and selling the goods abroad. Imports where you are taking the goods from other country to your country. Followed by the 1 mark question on the examination corner. What is macroeconomics? I would say that a very simple way to write this answer is macroeconomics refers to the study of aggregates covering the entire economy. If you have even written up to this, you will get your 1 mark here. No need to go further in detail trying to explain too much about macroeconomics. The key word here is the aggregate, study of aggregates. So when we say that the word study of aggregates, we are talking about the sum of averages. We are talking about all the key functions of the economy. So definitely study of aggregates is a very, very important core function that we are studying. So this is very important for us when we are studying into this particular topic. Followed by, you can bring in examples here like unemployment, national income. These are all the examples to support your question. But nevertheless, being a 1-mark question, if you're just going to write macroeconomics refers to the study of aggregates covering the entire economy, then automatically it is done. Followed by the next one, which policy was proved wrong by the Great Depression? The Great Depression of 1930, very important, that year proved the classical economic policy was wrong. So the key word here again for that 1 mark is classical economic policy. So please keep in mind, whenever you are writing a 1-mark question, the answer lies in the keywords. The answer does not lie in writing pages. So what you need to do exactly when you are trying to answer with respect to your PU board, you need to give the keywords correctly. It might be about a date, about an year, or you're trying to talk about particular words. Please do mention those words with correct spelling, with the date, time span, so that you are able to score that 1 mark completely. Now the next thing, name the book written by J.M. Keynes, John Maynard Keynes. Now this is a very, very important thing. Just write the name of the book. The name of the book is General Theory of Employment, Money and Interest. Though the title might look a little bit long, but when you are answering a 1-mark question, you should have written the complete name of the book. So here the title is General Theory of Employment, Money and Interest. Write down the full name, then you will be able to score that mark. Followed by the 2-mark question, what do you mean by the nature of macroeconomics? Now look at the question here. When I'm trying to talk about what is macroeconomics and what is the nature of macroeconomics, I'm slightly trying to go ahead, trying to expand the situation altogether. So what I'm exactly interested upon here is that I'm trying to make the existence even more larger. So I'm going to just bring in some words like the way of solution to economic problems is the nature of macroeconomic. I'm going to expand and write. The nature of macroeconomics explains the central essence of the economy, why it is important, what are the factors, what are all the economic activities that are included, how to understand an economic function in different situations. So what I'm trying to do, expand the answer, write it further so that you are able to score better. So please understand, when you are trying to go further in terms of answering these questions, it is mandatory for you that you understand all this and then start writing it. Followed by the 2 marks question, which is very, very interesting for all of us, is that name the 2 areas of studies under macroeconomics. Areas of macroeconomic studies are national income, one which is very, very important, aggregate employment, inflation. So you can probably write lot of factors, but I would just say, in order to make you understand easily, I would always say national income, because that's the name of the next chapter in our economics. So you will be definitely able to remember it, and not to forget employment, because income means the next important thing is employment. In order to have an income, you should have an employment. That's how economics connects to us. So national income, that is the first example. The second example would be the aggregate employment. Moving further, 4 mark questions coming into picture now. Now we will be talking about micro and macroeconomics, the distinguishing factors. First one is micro and macroeconomics are first distinguished on the basis of scope, which means micro will study about individual, macro will study about the nation as a whole. So when I'm trying to talk about a 4 mark question, all I need you to understand here is that This is an expanded version because we are looking around about 12 lines of answer. So when you're going to put a neat tabular column on your left-hand side micro, right-hand side macroeconomics, and you're going to explain it, I want the point format to be given in such a way that you are able to cover all the major topics that have been told through. So it is always important for us that you study this, find out what is micro, what is macro, how it is happening, what are all the aggregate factors, all those things, so that it will be easy for you to get into it. Now, the most important thing that you are going to do is that you will also get into the method of study. That is, microeconomics will also follow a very, very simple factor slicing method as it studies individual. Under macroeconomics follows the lumping method, all those factors that we are talking about. But we are also going to get into about the aggregates factor. Now, the next thing is that economic agents in microeconomics, each individual agent economic will think about its own interest and welfare. In macroeconomics, in that what happens is that microeconomics people don't go much about the group factors. They are more about an individual factors, whereas in the case of macroeconomics, people will have the thinking in a group, in a herd kind of thing, because it's more about the nation. Now, with that, we come to the end of this particular chapter. I hope and believe that all the questions and answers, including the summary that has been discussed through this session, will be of great help to you, both in terms of practical and in the theory point of view. All I would suggest and advise the students to please pay attention to the date, to the words, to the keywords especially, so that you will be able to score better. In the next session, we will be talking about chapter 8, which is called as National Income Accounting, which is a very, very important chapter because it does carry a heavy weightage in terms of macroeconomics. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.